You are at the max of what they give a grown 300-pound man. Like, how are you not laid out on the floor completely functioning? He was like, it is a scary dose of meds that you are on. Like, you might really want to see where your life's going.
Welcome, everybody, to the Warrior Podcast. Today, I am thrilled that I have another veteran on. She was in the Marine Corps, and when you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. You don't say I was in the Marine Corps, you say I'm a Marine. Mom of two. She has battled some super dark storms and survived, and we're going to talk about that. And with that said, welcome, Cassie Leja.
Hey.
Every time I get a veteran on here, I get excited. One of my regrets in life is that I didn't join the armed forces, and the Marines would have been my choice too. You guys got a different, you're kind of like messed up in your head, if you know what I'm saying. So
I do.
Let's get your story going from the beginning. Tell me about your childhood, siblings, parents, where'd you grow up and stuff like that.
I have two older brothers. I'm the baby, only girl. Mom, dad came here from Poland. Basic childhood. We moved from the city to Lamont.
What's basic childhood?
Normal childhood, nothing too exciting. Two older brothers who like to beat up on me, which is where I think my toughness came from. I was a cheerleader. I was a gymnast.
Oh, wow.
So when I joined the military, everybody was shocked.
Could you climb a rope?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
That's a hard thing for anybody to do. When you said a gymnast, I thought, that's what I thought. What did your parents do for a living?
My dad is a machinist, and my mom was a hairdresser. And then she was a stay-at-home mom, did hair in the house. And then once we got older, she started working at the hospital in their files department. Mm-hmm. She did that for many years.
Okay, so you're a cheerleader in school and a gymnast. And I got to ask this is a side street, and how do I want to say this without putting you on the spot? When you have the looks that are attractive to men, okay? We'll put it that way in general terms. That comes with some tolls, doesn't it?
Yeah. Women have it 10 times harder in the military, and we're such a small percentage. So when I first joined, because I was considered quote unquote pretty, right? Everyone thought I was weak. So I made it a point to, okay, you want me to hook up this tow bar? It might take me 10 times longer, but I don't need your help. Where it got to the point where one time a corporal approached me and was like, listen, it's okay to ask for help. It'll get done 10 times faster. And it was like, no, I have to prove myself. You guys already think less of me because of just my looks alone. So I had to work 10 times harder.
I can confirm that because my son Pete's a Marine, and he said that sometimes the sergeant would be dating or the lieutenant would be dating a female Marine, and that they would give that female special privileges because they were dating. So that in itself isn't good for morale. And then comes the other thing. They're all looking at you to fail, right? I mean, they almost want you to fail because you're a woman and stuff. I wasn't talking about the Marine Corps per se. I was talking about when you're in school. I always think to myself that people who are attractive to other people, it's a disadvantage in a lot of ways because you're getting a lot of attention for your looks, and your looks is not who you are, right?
I definitely wasn't, growing up, I definitely wasn't the popular girl.
Oh, no?
Mm-mm.
No. I think Vicky thinks you were. Hi, Vicky Todner, who put this together. She said you were, but I was just curious. You had to be in attention as a cheerleader, though, because as a young man, dating a cheerleader was like a gold medal.
Not really.
My first girlfriend was a cheerleader, and then my second was a cheerleader. Never worked out, but that wasn't their fault.
Well, I did it when I think 6th grade is when I started, and I ended after my freshman year.
Okay, what year did you graduate high school?
06.
06. I got underwear older than you, my friend. We talked about this already. You have we'll call it a feisty spirit. You have the don't tell me I can't because I will show you, yes?
Yes, very much so.
So what well, we talked about this too. My son, Pete, his act of defiance against his parents was kind of, screw you, I'm joining the Marine Corps, right? And you smiled when I said that. So is that part of your story?
Yeah, well, everybody seemed to know what they wanted to do and had these goals. And I was graduating and confused and had no idea what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And a girlfriend of mine was actually joining. And she was like, come talk to this recruiter. And at that point, like my parents had already separated. My two older brothers had moved out. My mom was at home, not doing too good. And I think I was just looking for a way out. And the recruiters made it sound good and free schooling and so I took the test. And
Did you have any fear? Like after you knew you were in, you signed the papers?
I did, which is why I think I didn't tell anybody initially. I was like a week from leaving and my mom and I had gotten into it. And she was like, well, if you don't like it here, you can get out. And I was like, well, I leave next week. So, and I walked out and she was pissed and she kept calling me and then she was crying.
So you were staying with your mom and your mom and dad were separated.
Yeah.
Were you communicating with your dad at the time?
No.
Okay. So he wouldn't have had any reaction really to the joining the military.
Well, she had called him. She had called him and let him know. And so he had showed up to come talk to me. But his more was like, are you sure? Do you really want to do this? And I actually called him today to ask him like what he thought. He said he was scared. He was scared that we were in a time of war and what that meant for me. And my mom's big thing was she called my recruiter and she said, I have 2 sons, take one of them.
That's cute. Up until that point, through high school, any serious relationships?
Yeah, I had, my high school sweetheart. We were kind of on and off, typical.
Yeah.
Fighting, breaking up, getting back together.
Was that your first love?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. That always keeps a little piece of your heart, that your first real love, even if you fight and all that stuff. My first real girlfriend, I thought I was going to marry her. She was 1 year older than me. And then I went on a fishing trip. She was a freshman in college and I was a senior in high school, and somebody saw her making out with a guy. And this person who told me was a trusted friend. So I knew he wouldn't lie. And so I already was heartbroken. But like I told you, I left my mother when things got bad. So I had walkaway power, which I still have. And I just sat her down and I said, I'm going to ask you a question and I already know the answer. I know the truth. All you have to do is tell me the truth and then we can work through it. But don't lie to me. And I said to her, you were at this club in Lyons, you were dancing with this guy named so-and-so, and you were making out with him. And she's like, oh no. I go, I'm going to give you one more chance. And she lied again.
Oh, wow.
So we were sitting on the floor in the family room, and I grabbed her hand and I go, let's go. She goes, where are we going? I go, I'm breaking up with you. She goes, just like that? I go, just like that. She goes, but wait a minute. I go, nope, I gave you the chance. And so that girl still has a little piece of my heart because she was my first real love, So it is what it is. It's silly kid stuff.
I think he is a big reason why I left too. He was a cheater. And I always went back, and everybody around me, how dumb I was. And so when joining the military felt like a way out, and I knew that he was always going to be a cheater, and I didn't have the confidence to leave. So leaving, I knew, would probably be the end of us. And he actually wrote me a Dear John letter when I was in Iraq. As if it can't get any worse.
Now, what was that hurtful to you, or were you relieved because you were thinking the same thing?
Of course, it was for one of our best friend's little sisters. So I think it hurt a little bit for a few days, but I already knew, like we had been through it so many times. He was a cheater.
When my son joined the Marine Corps, before he went in, one of my friends at the time was a Marine veteran, Adam. And Adam goes, your son, he's going to get on those yellow footprints and they're going to be screaming at him. And there's basically 2 kinds of people when they're in that spot, right? When they get off the bus, there's the, holy fuck, what have I done? And the other one is, all right, I'm in the shitstorm. I got to pull my pants up and get going here, right?
Yeah.
Is that true or what?
Yeah. I was like, oh, I did this to myself. I have nobody to blame but me. So yeah, it's a moment.
And I'll bet you those guys yelling at you, the DIs, when there's a female in there, they just want to take it to you and watch you break down, don't they? I mean, they try to do that to everybody, right?
Hey, everybody, I wanted to take a moment to thank our sponsors. My dear friend Andy Thompson is the owner and operator of Talon Studios. Talon Studios makes custom knives. This is one of the first knives he made it for me. It's extremely sharp. Everything is made by hand. The handles, the grips, everything. They're beautiful, durable knives. We like to say knives for life. Whether you're a collector or you want knives for utility and function, he even makes the casings for the knives by hand too. Andy works with his son AJ. They are super fine craftsmen, and every knife they put everything, all their heart and soul into their knives. So that's Talon Studios. I will put a link in the description of each of the podcasts, and you'll see their information at the end.
Well, once they pick you up and you get on the bus and you get there, there's groups of women. Like we had one of the largest graduating classes in years. I think there was 80 of us between the two platoons, which like never happens. Usually it's like 15 and 15, so 30. And we had, I think, 80 between us and our sister platoon.
Wow.
So we had a large group.
Okay, so did you have any women that were just like Wonder Women? They were just muscular animals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they definitely made you question yourself. Like, my senior year, I had like a whole day of gym classes because I had failed out of gym at least once every year. So my senior year, I had like a whole day of gym classes. So when I had to go back for some paperwork, I told my favorite gym teacher, I'm like, I joined the Marines. He was like, I don't think you thought this through. Are you sure? Like, you have to run. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. I don't think I thought this through either.
So tell me about boot camp then. Boot camp is hard. Do you have to do the crucible? Is that what they call it?
I enjoyed it. I loved the crucible. It felt good. I don't know. My recruiters before I left always told me to blend in. They were like, don't make yourself known, blend in. And so like, because we had such a big class, I don't think my DIs noticed me until like halfway through. I mean, I remember they were calling for mail and they were like, recruit Leia, who's that? And I was like, meh. So I just kind of hid. I just wanted to get through it.
Okay, so after boot camp, you graduate. Did your mom come to that? Did anyone come to see you graduate?
My mom and my brothers came.
Yeah, it's emotional for your family members.
Yeah.
I mean, we were like in tears watching them, come by, and all the little gravelly DIs with their own cadence, they've all lost their voice. Like they're all crackly. They get real high pitched sometimes. It's a very proud moment. So after boot camp, where did you get stationed, and then you got deployed too? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
After boot camp, I went on to school and MCT, and then I got stationed in Pendleton, and it was me, 2 other females, and like 60 dudes in my platoon.
And Pendleton is where?
In California.
Okay. That's where my son was trained at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But then he got moved to Lejeune.
Yeah, I went to boot camp on Paris Island in, what is that, North Carolina?
Yeah, I'm bad with geography. You're asking the wrong guy here. So you got stationed, and then I know about military life. It's pretty mundane when you're not deployed.
Yeah.
Take me through like a normal day.
It's like
what was your MOS, by the way?
I was motor T. I didn't have very many options. It was paperwork or driving trucks, and I'm not good at paperwork. And I thought, driving trucks would put me out there to do some cool stuff. I didn't want to sit behind a desk, so I chose motor T.
Did you drive some of them big ass trucks too?
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, isn't it?
7 times, loved it. Felt so big and powerful on the road.
Nice. You're in motor T. A normal day for a Marine is you wake up at a certain time, and then what do they do?
So we'd get up 5:30. Go PT, come back, shower, eat, and go back to work.
PT
then,
is what? Physical training?
Yeah, we'd go running, go to the gym, whatever it was that day. And then a normal 9 to 5 job. So when I had got out of school, I was having hip problems. And so I was put behind a desk when I first got to my unit doing dispatching. So I would have to put the guys on the road and go drop this off, go pick this up. And then you get off once the last truck comes in.
And did you ever find out what the hip problem was?
The hip injuries are a big thing in the military for women. Our bodies are just made different, right? And so when I first started complaining about hip problems, I don't think they really took me seriously. I mean, I was diagnosed with my one leg shorter than the other, or my pelvic bones are uneven. I mean, they wouldn't even really examine me. They would just, whatever the woman in front of me was diagnosed with, I was diagnosed with. I never felt like they really like looked into it. And I had a corporal who forced me to work out and take physical therapy seriously. Him and I are still friends to this day. And with him helping me out, I got stronger, and pain just seemed to subside the stronger I got.
That's awesome. So how long are you doing these things, these jobs, before you get deployed?
I was at my unit about a year.
You had to be thinking about the possibility of getting deployed, right?
Yeah.
So how were you processing that? Was that something that created fear in your head, or worried, doubt?
Well, I was kind of on the might not go list because I was having problems when I first got to my unit. And so I really wanted to go. I mean, that was why I joined, right? Like I wanted to be a part of something. And so that's why physical therapy and working out and getting stronger was such a priority, so that I could get cleared to get on that list. Because it was like an every other year thing that we were going.
Gotcha.
And so I knew that upcoming year we were going to be going.
And they train you to want to be like killers, so how did you shoot?
I mean, I'm definitely not the best shot.
Is there's three designations as shooter, because my son Pete said he shot expert. That's the highest. What are the other two? Like, I think it's marksman, sharpshooter, and expert.
Yeah, I was
according to him. Okay.
I was a marksman.
And you shoot just like an M16 for the most part, right?
Yeah.
He told me a couple stories. They made him a range instructor because he shot expert. And one time, one of the sergeants, he wasn't paying attention to where the barrel was pointed, and he called the sergeant out right there. And the sergeant started yelling at him, and the other sergeants ran over like, no, you know better than that.
Yeah.
You never want to cross the plane of a body with a gun unless you're wanting to kill that person. So
On the range, they take that very seriously. They're not messing around. Safety is a priority.
And then tell me if this story makes sense. You have to count the shell casings. Did you remember having to do that? So he was in the Marines much after you were. So on the range, they assign you a certain amount of ammo, and then you have to turn in the exact amount of empty shell casings that they gave you. And they were off by one. The whole shooting line, they were off by one, and they got PT'd their ass off for that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe it. I never had to, but I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. The Marines like to play games.
So we'll take a little side street on the military. I know more about the Marines in terms of this stuff because my son's a Marine and shared stories. But a lot of the stuff they do, to me, it seems unproductive. They make you do stupid shit. They made these guys sit in a basement with full gear on all day for like 12 straight hours. No phone, no nothing. All they could do is go to the bathroom. Now, I'm not a military Marine teacher, but I don't see the benefit of that.
Yeah. So when we first got there, we came as a large group. There was 8 of us, which is like not normal, I guess, is from what I was told. Usually it's like one guy's getting out, so then they get a new guy to replace him, right? And when the 8 of us came, it's because 8 of them were getting out and they needed to replace all of them. So it was me and 7 dudes. And the corporals definitely played with us, where that first year I was like, I hate it here. This is so pointless. I mean, after work, they would make the 8 of us, no, it was 7 of us, my bad, 7 of us, dress and undress trucks, just like we were back in boot camp. And 1 minute to put the sides and the top on these trucks. And of course, we obviously didn't get it in the time, so then take them apart, put them back together. We were like, why? Like, I thought we'd like earned our title. Why are you still messing with us? and cleaning our rooms. Another one. I had deep cleaned my room. I knew it was clean. And so when my corporals had come through to check it, he like swiped above my door and he was like, see, it's still dirty and had black. Well, come to find out a year later, he had put stuff on his hand just to keep messing with us.
Oh, man.
And it was like, leave us alone. And I mean, for weeks we were initiated.
Let's take the opposite of them being assholes to you. My son never forgot this. He said they had to dig holes, foxholes or whatever. They were not on deployment, but what do they call it when you go on it, do exercises? They call it a field op or something.
Yeah.
I forgot what he called it. And so they were told, dig these holes, and they were getting yelled at. And one of the sergeants jumped in the hole with the shovel, and he was digging the holes with them. And he said, this guy we would follow through the fires of hell because he did that, and that to me is good leadership. Did you have anybody like that you looked up to?
Yeah, Corporal Monroe. I'm still friends with him. He's the one I told you his wife drove through the night. Still friends. He's the one who showed up at my door, made me tea, made me get out there. Yeah, we would all follow him. I mean, they messed with us and we hated it, but it did make us closer to them because after we had gone through everything, crack open a beer with us, and they were great leaders. So we hated it at first, but I think it did end up building camaraderie with us. So the ones that got down and got dirty with us, yeah, it's a different respect. Because you also know the bad ones, right? We had one who blatantly would say it. I look good on paper, and that's all the superiors care about is that I look good on paper. Yeah. And we hated him because he was a go do this, go do that, and you would catch him, sitting in the smoke pit all day long.
In terms of the Vietnam War, the Marines had a term called fragging. Do you know what fragging is? Mm-mm. During the Vietnam War, they told the Marines, we need body count, right? Go out there and kill more of them than they kill of us. And then every night on the news, they would post the body count. How many dead Marines or how many we lost versus how many they lost. Right? It was a big thing to get the body count. So they would have these officers straight out of OCS that they'd put them into combat right away. And they were all gung-ho and stuff. They were like, yeah, let's go into the jungle and let's get body count and this and that. And they would be reckless because they were indoctrinated to do this. And all these other guys, they were already seasoned combat veterans. And so sometimes they shot their own commander. Jesus. They throw a grenade in the latrine or whatever. They call that fragging. They're like, this guy's, we're getting killed because this guy's an idiot. So bad leadership can be really bad and good leadership can be really good. I use the foxhole analogy a lot. Like in my first book, I wrote a chapter on leadership, and I said a good leader will get in the foxhole with his troops. Yes. He will be the first one out of the foxhole to charge the line. That just, like you said, you'll follow him through the fires of hell. And it seems to be such an easy formula, but it seems to be so hard to find, I had another gentleman on here, a couple of them that are high-ranking retired military, colonel and above. And they say you get to a certain rank and then you become a politician. That's all it is. You puff your chest out and you do your stuff like that. And the military is like anything else. It's a big corporation and it gets gunked up at the top, but it's the people on the battlefield and that leadership there and the bravery and courage. I mean, that's the whole thing to me. All right. So tell me about deployment and stuff now.
So get to deployment, drive trucks. We were protection for a lot of semis a lot of time.
Where did you get deployed to?
I was in Fallujah. So we were actually the last of the Fallujahs.
Wow.
We shut down the camp when we were leaving. Well, I wasn't there. I had already been injured and out. My platoon were the last of the ones that closed it down.
Which is the most dangerous time because you're the last ones there. And if they want to fuck with you, you don't have the whole force limited with you, right?
Right.
Okay, so you want to talk through how, like, some of the, did you actually get in, like, firefights and stuff like that when you were out there?
No, we had been shot at and we had been hit. So let me see where I start. So when we had gotten out there, it was pretty easy. Go from point A to point B. Not much was going on. And then there was this one area that was bad, and they had put a bomb out in the road, and we had to wait for the IED guys. And then a couple weeks later, we were back out there, and they did the same thing. So, when you're waiting for the IED guys, it takes a while. There's such a small number of them, and they have to go all over the place to help all of us out. And it was like right in front of like this little town in the middle of nowhere. And they don't have like streets like our streets, right? Like they're not paved. So our loads get loose. This is kind of going into my injury.
Do you want to go into your injury?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the most exciting part of my deployment, I guess.
Take us how you want to take us.
Because the rest of it was, wake up early, prep the trucks, go sleep for a couple hours and hit the road and then start it all over again.
Your group of Marines consisted of what? Are you all carrying the same weapon, or does somebody have a bigger weapon? Because you have a special detail, right? You're not clearing houses, in other words.
No.
So your group would be how many people?
There was about 60, 70 of us. We were attached to another unit. And so we would like swap out, like we went out on the road this night and then they would go out the next night. And I was one of two females and all the guys. And then we were attached to a platoon that had like 10 women and the rest guys.
Were you and the other woman in your squad or whatever, were you tight?
Not really. She was a sergeant and I was still a lance corporal. And she was very, professional, as in, like I was lower ranking. Yeah. So it was me with all the guys.
And back to your, being a female in a male-dominated Marine Corps, she's got the same struggles.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
she's raising in rank to sergeant, and so she has to put on a certain kind of show too. Because if she, for instance, was going out of her way to talk with you, just because the sisterhood, they would bust her balls.
She would instantly be accused of favoritism.
Right.
She actually had a conversation with me because I was like, damn, like I would think that she would want to take me under her wing and, like show me the ways, but no, she did not treat me any differently from anybody else. Mm-hmm. And she pulled me aside one time. Was like, listen, like it's nothing against you, but figure it out. Like you don't want me to be accused of being favoritism towards you, and you don't want to be accused of, it goes both ways.
Right.
And it took me a while to understand it, but she was right.
Yeah. She might have avoided you a little bit more even than
she
men.
Definitely did.
So that's really, really interesting. Okay. So tell me when the shit hits the fan with the injury.
Oh, I did forget. So when I first got to my unit, I was pulled to do a special assignment. And I did Lioness, and I was pulled onto a grunt unit.
What is that now?
A grunt unit?
No, well, yeah, that. And what is, you said Lioness?
Lioness. They pulled a bunch of women, and we had to get some special training for a couple of weeks. And then we were put out on the front lines with grunt units. We were basically brought in because we respect their culture, right? And so they started hiding stuff on the women. And so they created this special team and special trained us, search words and searching techniques. And we were put with the grunt units and brought in, like I was at a checkpoint. I was sent into a checkpoint and a grunt unit, and cars would pull in. They would separate the men and women. And there was 4 of us, 2 teams of women, and we would search the women that were there. It was an interesting time being out on the front lines, being able to talk to the people, meet the people. You have your regulars. They were amazing. And I was kind of had to think of it from like their perspective. We were the road into the town that we had blocked off. Imagine going to work every day and coming home and having to go through this checkpoint. After a hard day, you're just like, I want to get home, and you got to stop and get searched by these Marines. So I definitely wanted to treat them with respect and try and be understanding. We actually did catch 3 of the guys that, like that deck of cards of like the top 52 guys that we wanted to catch.
Mhm.
We caught 3 of the guys that were on there. They had come through and our guys were good. And they had realized something was off with their IDs. So they took a razor blade to them, cut them up, and realized they had put their pictures on top of somebody else's IDs.
Wow, pretty cool.
Yeah, we got to detain them. We had to wait for them to be picked up.
When you're doing this stuff on the road, like, are you in full gear?
Yeah.
So you have a pack and everything?
Not a pack.
But what do you call them? Bulletproof vests, flak jackets? What'd you call them?
Yeah, flak jackets.
And those suckers are heavy too.
Yeah, it's like 80 pounds of gear.
Wow.
And then you have all your ammo.
Okay, so do you want to go into how you got injured?
Sure. Okay. So we had been hit there before. So driving past this town, and we had been hit there before. And so a couple of weeks later, we were already on high alert.
What does hit mean? Like you got attacked by another group of enemy, or it was a bomb? Or
it was a bomb in the road.
Gotcha.
And so we were already on high alert, and they tried it again, and our truck one had spotted it. So we were waiting for the ID guys, and their roads aren't paved like ours, right? So like our loads get loose, and we weren't transporting. So usually we were like a long convoy. It would be like truck 1, truck 2, 10 semis, truck 3, 10 semis, truck 4, and it was just us. So I think there was 10 trucks, and I was the lowest ranking in the truck. And so I hopped out of the truck, and they had started coming out of their houses with AKs. And so instead of paying attention to what I was doing, I was rushing. And as I was tightening the ratchet straps, I slipped backwards, and it was like the road was on a hill. And so I fell and landed like upside down on the hill on top of my gun.
You fell further than if it was just flat, right?
Right. So you got to think my weight plus my gear on a hill landing on my gun. And I got up, got back in the truck, didn't say anything.
You knew you were screwed up though, didn't you?
Not at first. I think the adrenaline, covered it up. But by the time we got home that night, I could tell something was wrong. But because I was one of 2 females, and you hear all these stories and we're already considered weak, I thought I just pulled something. I thought, give it a couple days and it would be good. And the only people that knew were my roommates from the other platoon. And my leg would like tingle and go numb. And I would go to work. And so what we did is we would wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, go prep the trucks. We'd be off by like 9, 10. And then we wouldn't come back until like 6 p.m., right? So like there was like these breaks between. And during that break, when I would like sleep, it would wake up and my leg would feel better. So I'm like, oh, it's just sore, like I'm just doing too much on it. And after a couple of weeks, my leg was it was staying numb. Like it was bothering me. I started to not feel my feet, and my work was declining. And then both my legs started going numb. And I will never forget it. We were on the road for 26 hours. We just got back, and I would like drop my gear and go hide behind the 7-ton tires. And I was like, drop my gear, and I was like toppled over. I was like rocking. And my gunny was very pain is weakness and blah, blah, blah. So I think that was another reason why I was kind of scared to say that I was hurt or to go get checked out. And he came up to me and he was like, we've been watching you for weeks. Your work's declining. At what point do you think your body's telling you something? And I was like, right now. And he sent me to medical. And I got to medical, and the female lieutenant didn't examine me, didn't nothing. We had already been there, I think 9 months or 8 months. And we had just got extended to 14. And so she was like, what, do you have some man you want to go home to? And I was like, fuck you. Like, I don't need this. I didn't even want to come here. I hid this injury. And I went back and I'm like sobbing. And my goodness, like, what happened? And I told him, and he did not take lightly to that. He was like, get in the truck. So we went back, and he like stormed into her office, and she was with another patient, and she outranked him, but he has years of service on her, right? Like she's a second lieutenant, and he's a gunny, and he let her have it. He was like, she hid this injury. There's something wrong. I was medevaced 4 hours later.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then I got to Kuwait.
The gunny, that's another leadership story right there, right?
He had my back.
That's
and
awesome.
I was so scared of him. But then like when it came down to it, he had my back. And he continued to have my back throughout this. Like once I had spoken up and said I was hurt, it was like events just would not stop happening. So like I got to Kuwait. No x-rays, no MRIs, no CT scans. I think they put me in physical therapy twice a day or once a day, something like that for like 2-3 weeks, and sent me right back to Iraq. So I got back to Iraq, and they were like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. I had physical therapy. And they were like, well, what did the x-rays say? You know, like, and I was like, I never got one. And so I had already been there at that point. It was like 9 months. And so I was clearly getting worse. I could not feel my feet, wearing my gear every time. You get to come home for 2 weeks, right? Everyone goes home. You can go home or you can go somewhere else, but a lot of people go home. So my gunny was like, we're sending you home. When you get home, you need to be seen. And I was like scared, like insurance, you know, and thank God we have a base an hour from here. So my brother picked me up from the airport, and I still didn't want to get seen. And the travel back was bad for me, wearing my gear that long and in between flights. And so I laid in bed for like 4 days.
Wow.
And my brother was like, something's wrong. Like, quit being stubborn. And so he took me, and in the x-rays, they saw I had 2 clean breaks in my spine. And so then I was taken to get an MRI, CT scan, and then they found the 3rd break.
I mean, I would always try to look at the upside of things. The upside is you weren't paralyzed. So if your feet are getting numb, you probably just a few micrometers away from it being really bad, right?
The doctor who got my results cussed me out. He was like, do you know how close you are? Like, look how bad this is. And I was like, I tried to be seen. Like, I was seen in Kuwait. And he told me, he's like, if I would have kept pushing, that it would not have been good results for me.
So do you think this, and we're going to call it what it is, the drop the ball of it all, from the first doctor you saw that your gunny had to ream out, was this just kind of a out of the ordinary thing that happened, or is this one of the major pitfalls of our military? What do you think?
I think it's a pitfall.
Mm.
I do. And maybe I wouldn't think that way, but it wasn't just her. And it was from when I was having problems with my hip. I mean, they were just, nobody was taking me seriously. And, you know, granted, my hip was, nothing came of it. And I ended up getting better. But the doctor in Kuwait, that doctor, so I was stuck after my injury was revealed. I was stuck in Illinois. Like, I could not even be cleared to go back to California, back to my unit. And I find out that that doctor I had seen in Kuwait, that all his female patients need to be reevaluated because he allegedly is being charged as a sexist. And so my injury could have been seen, I mean, at that point, like almost 2 months before. And here I am wearing my gear, being put back on the road and just making it worse. I mean, by the time I got back to Illinois, I could not walk.
Wow.
So yeah, they definitely have some issues, and women have to fight 10 times harder for someone to listen to us, to believe us, because we're automatically assumed to be weak.
I mean, we're going to get to some deep questions about that later on. So you're here, you're stuck here. Are they scheduling you for surgery then? What are they doing with you?
I'm getting injections. They're just trying to stabilize me.
What are they injecting you with, like a cortisone type thing? Or?
Yeah.
And that can work, but it only works for a while, and then it doesn't work, correct?
It was, I mean, I was told from the from the jump that I was headed towards surgery. They were just trying to get me to where I could walk or fly. I mean, I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I was bedridden. Like getting me to doctor's appointments was a challenge at that point. So they were just trying, I think they were cautious. The doctor was cautious signing off on me traveling back to California and something happening. So he was taking extra precaution with me, given everything that had played out. So once they were able to manage my pain, then I was finally cleared. And I was in contact with my unit in Iraq and in California, and everybody was well aware of what was going on. So they were being really awesome and understanding. I was here in Chicago for almost 6 weeks, just chilling, seeing doctors. And then I went to California, and then it was just doctor after doctor after doctor.
So let me ask you this. We talked a lot about the mindset, like your own personal mindset. You're like, I'll show you type mindset, which I love. And then the military, the Marines try and put that, just keep going.
Yeah.
Arms
Pain
blown
is
off,
weakness.
keep going. And then comes now have the Marine mindset, and you have the fuck everybody, I'm going to get this done mindset. What is your mindset now once you realized, like when they x-rayed you and they, you had 2 breaks in there. And so now you have a grip on what your condition is. What was your mindset then? Did it like, were you bummed? Or were you like, oh man, I got more challenges, no problem, I got it? Like, where were you in that spectrum?
I really wanted to get back to my platoon. So when they first saw the breaks, and then like they were like, well, let's try injections and I was like, is that enough to get me back? Like, I just want to be back with my platoon. And there was definitely a grieving period for me where I just wanted to get back. I just wanted to finish out my deployment to say that I did. I don't think I don't think I understood how serious it was, because I thought, oh, so you're going to give me injections and like we can just get me back there. So I don't think I was understanding the severity.
I haven't known you that long, but I think you have the Black Knight wiring. Did you ever see Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's a comedy. And so King Arthur comes across the Black Knight, right? And the Black Knight is, you shall not pass, I'm the Black Knight. And King Arthur's like, no, I'm King Arthur, you must let me pass, Black Knight. And they do combat. And it's comedy, right? So they're doing slow motion when it starts ching, ching, and then King Arthur cuts the Black Knight's arm off, right? And it's comically bleeding. And he's, Black Knight, I've beaten you, I've cut your arm off, let us pass. He's like, I'll fight you with my other arm. So he picks up the sword, right? So he chops off his other arm. And he's like, Black Knight, I've chopped off both your arms, I have won, now let us pass. He's like, get over here. And he starts kicking the king with it, throwing kicks at him, right? So the king cuts off his leg. He's like, I've cut off your arms and leg. Let us pass. I've beaten you, Black Knight. He's like, get over here. And he starts he's hopping and nudging him, right? With only one leg. He chops that leg off. And now he's just a stump on the ground. And Black Knight, I have beaten you. You have no arms and legs now. We're going to pass. He's like, come back here, you chicken. It's just a flesh wound. That's you. You're got the Black Knight complex. You're like, no, just keep me moving, Doc. Just get me back there. And then, right?
Well, thank you. Thank you. I try. I think having 2 older brothers who used to beat up on me definitely gave me some. I'm definitely a person where, you challenge me and I want to prove you wrong.
So let's just take a pause on the brothers, because you were the baby of the family. Were they also like protective of you?
Yeah.
So for instance, if you had a guy you were dating or whatever, would they want to make sure they gave him the up and down, or not that bad?
No, not really. I think there's just been I say that because there was a couple situations. I mean, I think they let me make my mistakes when it came to that. But there is a couple situations that happened growing up where I definitely knew my brothers cared and protected me and definitely had my back. But when it came to boyfriends, I think they were kind of like, nah, she's going to learn.
Yeah.
She's going to learn.
That's kind of cool. That made you tougher too. So
Yep.
you went back to California?
Yeah.
And then did you ever make it back to Iraq?
No.
And then what happened in California?
So I was putting off surgery.
Because you wanted to go back to Iraq, right?
Well, because I knew that we were going like an every other year thing because I got more than one opinion. And so one doctor was like, you're going to end up having surgery whether you like it or not. And so I was like, I want a second opinion. And so the second one was more understanding and was like, well, you can try. I mean, we can strengthen that. We can see how it heals. We could, here's physical therapy. Let's try these injections. Let's burn the nerves. Let's this and that. And nothing was helping. And so the guys came back. I was limited duty. I was struggling. I could no longer do half the stuff I was doing. So it finally got to the point where when I spoke to my doctor, he was like, you will never deploy if you don't get this figured out. And so I was like, all right, let's do this so I can start this healing process. And I want to go the next time the guys go. And so I had surgery.
What the doctor told you was probably the only thing that he could have told you for you to approve the surgery, right? If you want to get back there, you have to do this, right?
Yeah. And after surgery, it was like, everyone was like, well, you had surgery and you're supposed to be better. And I only got worse.
Do you remember exactly what did they do? What was the process of that first surgery? I mean, did they put screws in or what did they do? Do you know?
What I found out later, what they were supposed to do and what actually happened are two different stories.
Great.
So I was supposed to have a fusion. And so I had 3 breaks. So they did the fusion.
What is a fusion? I've heard of it, but I don't know what exactly that entails.
Where they melt the bottom and top vertebrae and they put this, I think it's called BMP fluid in, and then it melts your top and bottom vertebrae together.
Gotcha.
They went in, took out one of my breaks because it was completely broken off. And where they are supposed to break to put in BMP fluid, my assumption is that the doctor forgot that it was broken almost exactly on the opposite side because he ended up breaking and putting in BMP fluid. I think that's what it's called. And it ended up melting my vertebrae and then leaking out the opposite side of where the doctor broke it, where over the original break was. And bones started growing into my spinal cord.
What happens after all this stuff now? And you found this out way after the fact, right?
So I finally asked to get a second opinion. And it turns out the doctor I went to go see, he got all new scans. Turns out he was the doctor who trained my surgeon. And so I went into his office to get my results. And he was like, I'm embarrassed to say or have my name on this guy. There was halos around all my screws, which meant none of them were secure, which in the second surgery, they went in and the doctor was like, we literally just pulled them out. Nothing was secure. The screws were supposed to be put in at a diagonal. They were put in like this, all lopsided, bone leaked, nothing fused because he broke one side and it was already broken on the other. And so it was a mess. So there was, at that point, they were like, you're done here. And they started med boarding me.
What does that mean?
My career was over. They were like, you need more surgeries. I had already been in at that point. I was hitting 3 years. So back surgery is a year recovery, right? So they were like, by that point, you're going to hit your 4 years. So they started med boarding me, which is a story in itself. They wanted to give me 10% and be done with me.
10% of what?
10% medical rating.
Which means what?
They give you a small chunk of money and they're done with you.
So that means 10% disability.
Yeah.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Because I know from real estate, the higher percentage of disability you're rated at, you get certain perks, like property taxes and stuff like that. If you're 100% disabled in Illinois, at least you don't pay property taxes on your home. So they want to give you 10%.
Yeah. And I thank God at that point I had a really great doctor who was like, I don't know how they decided this, but you're about to go through a whole bunch of stuff. Like, do not sign this, do not agree to it. So I ended up having to, this is still while I'm active duty. So I ended up having to get an attorney and fly to Washington, D.C. and fight.
On your own dime too, right?
No. Like somebody was assigned to me.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was great. And I had to fly, or he wasn't an attorney. He was somebody who helped like a wounded warriors thing. I had to fly.
Was this person in the military or no?
No, it was some office on base.
Okay.
That like helped med board military members. And he was like guiding me through the process. And so then once I like refused to sign to accept this rating because that doctor was like, listen, you're about to really go through it. Like you won't have insurance. You won't have like, you're going to need more support than giving a couple $1,000 and then basically the military's done with you. And so I had to fly in front of fly to DC and go in front of the med board and plead my case. Like, I don't know how y'all decided this, but my back is done. Like I can't feel my feet. My leg goes numb in and out. I'm in pain. I can't this, I can't that. And then they gave me 30%, which is basically like what you need to get like monthly payments and to be seen at the VA. And so I came home and it started, well, so I think, all right, so when you save up enough leave days, right? So like I had agreed to my 30% and I had saved up a bunch of leave days. And so you get to come out earlier, right? And so I had like 30 days, 15 days, I don't remember what it is. And so I had to drive my stuff back, my car back. And that's a long drive from California. And we were like, my girlfriend came with me and we're halfway here. I think we were like 7 hours away or something. And I bent down to like check my tire pressure and I felt a pop in my back and both legs instantly went back numb again. And so I still had hours to come and I just cried and sobbed. And I got home, I picked up my mom and technically I'm still active duty at that point. And so I was taken to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 28 days.
Wow.
And there was, I forget what they're called, but so I go to the emergency room. I'm like, I've already had back surgery. It's messed up. They already know that like I was supposed to be finding a doctor. And
did you go to a VA hospital or regular hospital?
No, I went to Good Sam in Downers Grove.
It's a good hospital.
The doctor does new x-rays, new this and that. And he was like, yeah, I mean, you need it now. But I was still technically active duty. So I wasn't sure how like all this stuff was supposed to work.
Right.
Because now I'm back in Illinois and my EAS date is in 15 days. Like, how does this? I just agreed to be med boarded out. And so I had surgery. I woke up from surgery and there was a Marine sitting next to me that I'd never seen before. And he was like the point of contact to all the military members who were getting out in Illinois. He was this amazing guy. I woke up and I thought like, am I in trouble? And he helped me and guided me through everything.
Not that it matters, but do you remember his rank?
He was a sergeant. And that was like his whole job was like to welcome Marines who were getting out back and to guide us, you know, like what we needed. Like he ended up helping me get my veteran ID, making sure I was registered at the VA hospital. I mean, he was a heaven sent. He started the process in me increasing my rating because I ended up having to have emergency second surgery. And because my first surgery was so bad, when they went in for my second surgery, obviously it's not like going in like a first surgery is, right? Like everything looks the same. Now you have like scar tissue and it already looks different. My second surgery, I woke up and I had no functioning of my right leg.
Wow.
So 2 days later, I had to have back surgery number 3, but this time they cut me through the stomach. So there was a lot going on in such a short time. And
I'm no surgeon, But if they're going in through your stomach, they got to move like all your guts over, right, to get to your spine. That's crazy.
Yeah, because they had to hit my spine from the back and the front to fix my leg.
So did that work that surgery? Did you get your use of your leg back a little bit, or?
Yeah, I was still having problems with it, but not like when I had woken up. Like I was like, I can't feel my foot. Like there's something wrong here. And they were like, we need to get in there. And so it was like 2 days apart. I was cut 2 major back surgeries.
And this was at Good Sam, yes?
Yeah.
So my brain is thinking the military is going to tell you, well, you didn't do it at a VA hospital, blah, blah, blah. You didn't get approval. You're on your own.
So I was in the hospital for 28 days. And then by the time I got home, I got it was like $418,000 bill to my house. And so like that was like my big fear, and not knowing where I stand, where I go. Did I go to the right hospital? I'm technically still active duty. I don't have insurance. Like that was all my fears, which is why that I wish I remembered his name. Sergeant was such a heaven sent, because I got this bill and I called him. I was like, I will never pay this off. Like, what do I do? And he was like, you were still active duty. It was an emergency situation. And thank God that was my saving grace, that he got it all taken care of.
Awesome. What happens after that?
So surgery 2 and 3, I'm on a walker.
And you're at approximately what age at this time?
21, 22.
Oh my God. Crazy.
Yeah. They don't know if it'll ever be normal again. So I'm on a walker for months. I become depressed. I'm in constant pain. It got really rough for a while.
I want to ask you about the pain. When you heard the pop, was there a joining pain, or did it just be numbness?
No, it was a shooting pain down my legs. And it was like instantly, like I hit the ground. Like my girlfriend walked around the car and was like, what just happened? And I was just laying on
Like
the
you got hit
floor.
with a stun gun, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm just trying to determine, there's always pain after surgery. Any kind of surgery, you're going to have pain, but
Yeah.
you know, how much of the pain you were after the third surgery was recovering from this actual surgery, and that how screwed up your back was. You know what I mean? So when you became depressed, you had a high level of pain. Was that pain still because your back wasn't right, or was it the healing pain from the surgery? What would you say?
I think a lot of it was healing pain, but a lot of it was healing pain, right? And still having to move around to get to the bathroom. And then that was a struggle. And because I had this leg problem now, I ended up falling down the stairs more than once, actually.
Just what you needed, right?
Right, a couple of times. So then I ended up re-breaking my fusion and then having to go into surgery for a couple of months later.
Is your mother glued to your side during this time?
I mean, she's got to work, and she works nights. So there was a lot of crawling to the bathroom. And, you know, when I had joined the military, I never thought I'd come back. So it's not like I did very well at keeping up with relationships. And, you know, like my girlfriends tried, but I was a miserable person to be around, and misery needs company. And, you know, when people call and invite you and you always say no and you can't, and you're in pain or you're back in the hospital, eventually people stop calling. So I had pushed away anybody who ever wanted to support me.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a big accountability person, and you know, we steer our ships to where we're at, as I told you. But when you're in a lot of pain, no one can, you know, put themselves in your shoes either. So, and plus, you were the type of person already. Yeah, I'm in pain, but I'm not going to show it, right? So,
Just trying not to.
I'm smiling because I'm the same kind of jerk you are when it comes to that stuff. You know, the Black Knight. So you're just continuing to struggle. Where does any relief come, or doesn't it come?
There's points where there is relief, definitely. But it never went away. And I think my expectation now that here we are all these years later, I think there's been a lot of realizations. I think I was expecting to have surgery and have no pain. And I was still having pain. And it took me a long while to like even now, the cold, moving around too much. If I take my kids to do something fun, it takes a couple days recovery. Like my kids' big thing after we do something is, do you need an ice pack, Mom? And I used to get like really upset about that, but once I accepted that there will always be some type of pain, it was easier to mentally manage. And I think I was struggling a lot mentally with it and feeling sorry. And there was a lot of emotions. And I think my expectations and what was happening needed to be managed, and they weren't. So there was a lot of ups and downs with extreme emotions during that time.
Another shout out to one of our sponsors, Nevis Nutrition, which is a vitamin and supplement shop in Lamont. Owner Joe Bosco, dear friend of mine. Joe is super knowledgeable in nutrition, extremely knowledgeable in fitness. All the top athletes, weightlifters, bodybuilders, they go over there. He's really instrumental in help coaching our young athletes too. He's located in Lamont. I'll put the address in the description as well.
So we kind of skipped over a couple parts of the story. So you're struggling with your back stuff, and it's perpetual because you're sitting here now years after, and it's still a problem. And then, is there a problem with pain meds? That's one thing I wanted to split off. And then, when did you meet your significant other and start having kids? Like, color that in for me on the timeline.
I met my now ex, my children's father, right when I got home. I started speaking to him on that drive home.
How did you meet him?
He's my cousin's husband's best friend, and he was also a Marine. So my cousin put us in contact when I was coming home, because I was like telling her, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to register and get my veteran's ID and this and that. Like I was just, telling her my worries. And she was like, well, I know this guy who had just done it, recently. Here's his number. And he called me. And so we had started talking. He was a Marine.
So he had an injury thing too that he was dealing with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a lot in common right off the bat.
Right. And so he actually came to visit me in the hospital when I first got here, like never had met. And we just kind of built our relationship from there.
I have mixed feelings on that because, my son, who's a Marine, a lot of these Marines, they get together with other Marines and they get married. It rarely works out. Now, I don't know if that's anecdotal. It just seems to me like for some reason it puts a little additional strain on the relationship. Have you noticed that, or is that just my own personal?
No, I think you're right. We met from back here, right? It's like we didn't meet while we were active, but I definitely got married while I was active. I think it has a lot to do with you have all these people from all over the place, right? Taken from everything they've ever known and put into the military, right? So like we're all looking for that comfort and safety. And I think you find a little bit of it and you're missing it so much, you don't realize that, what's the word I'm looking for? I think that's why they jump into it so quickly, is because, we're missing home, we're missing all our normal comforts, and we all are. So we find something that feels comforting and we like blow it up in our heads.
Yeah. So a couple things with that. When we went to pick Pete up from boot camp, they had a little parental seminar, right? So we all went into an auditorium and, they had somebody lecturing there, and they said, at this point in your Marine's life, they are like 30 times more likely to get engaged than their peers. There's something about all the stuff they've been through. And sure enough, he got engaged, my son. And then the other thing, this is completely off the subject, but about people come from all different walks of life, and you're all there now, and you're all on the team, right? You're Marines. And one of the perspective enhancements my son got was he didn't realize like how good of a life he had here, how stable of an environment he had here. Because he said they had most of the Marines, they come from broken homes and they have a lot of effed up stuff. Like I was like an anomaly in terms of the stability of the house I came from, but he didn't have that realization until he went away, you know? So you probably came across a little of that yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So you meet your guy, you get serious, you get married. Yes. No.
I got married for a couple months there while I was, when I got home from Iraq too.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
This is not an uncommon story. You're like reluctant. I've had a lot of veterans here. It's just something that happens.
It didn't last long, and we were divorced before the year was over. I think he's one of the 7 that came from school with me, and we were very close friends. And so when he went home for his 2 weeks, he was injured. And he had his throat stomped in.
While he was home?
Yeah, for his 2 weeks.
Wow.
So they actually created him like a titanium throat. And so he was home before our unit. And then I got injured. And so we were back together again. And our platoon was still in Iraq. And so all we had was each other. And I was injured. And he was healing. So I think we kind of confused that for like.
Is it partial when you're in the military and you jump into these marriages and stuff? Is it because the military is putting in your brain, just do it, go for it, do it? Is it that mentality that you say, yeah, let's just get engaged and get married?
I think it's, no.
No?
They definitely, all our superiors were like, don't do it. But you're grown now, right? Like you're away from home. You're a Marine. You're grown. You know better. And so we all thought we knew better. We were constantly told at every point, every step of the way, like, don't do it. But you get housing. You get out of the barracks. You get, you're no longer messed with. And on Thursdays have to clean and have your bedroom inspected because you have your own house. So I think a lot of military look at the perks of getting married. I mean, we definitely did. We were like, we can move off base and have our own apartment.
Don't you get a little extra money too, or no?
Yeah. So we were like, we don't have to deal with these Thursday cleanings.
And this is another Marine thing. You know, this house, our refrigerator, all the food in the refrigerator in the cupboard is open to everybody. But my son continually asks, does somebody have dibs on this? Does this belong to somebody? No, Pete, this is a family. Everything's open to everybody, right? And so, but when he has something that, he buys for himself, he'll put a Post-it on and said, you can have some of this. Like, he's giving us permission. And I'm like, dude, if it's in the fridge, it's open to all of us, okay? This isn't the Marine Corps. This is Pete's food, It's hilarious.
Did he have barracks living? Or was he...
He lived in a barracks. To me is those buildings like that. Those buildings that are shaped like this.
Yeah, that's not barracks.
Yeah,
barracks is like apartments.
Yeah, he lived in one of those. A crappy little apartment. They had ants all over the place and stuff like that.
Yeah, ours was bad. Ours was condemned like 2 years after I got out, and all of us were texting each other like, "See, we told you."
That's so funny. The Marines are just a different animal. Can't remember who was on the podcast. He was not in the Marines. He was in the Air Force. And he was talking about a deployment where the Air Force and Marines were in the same place and they could all stay in whatever accommodations there were. But the Marines sought out these ratty old barracks, the old style, they're semicircles, and they went there. Instead of having the nicer accommodations, like it's a different mindset. You guys are a little nuts. I love that about you.
Well, did you ever hear the story of 29 Palms?
No.
I forget what branch had it, but a different branch had it and they deemed it inhumane or something because it's super hot in 29 Palms. Like even when you're driving up there, when you're getting close because your breathing starts getting heavy. Mm-hmm. And so the story is that the Marines bought it from whatever branch, I can't remember. And now we have a base up there. And we have a bunch of Marines up there.
I have a friend who was in the Army. He was he worked in the PX. And he said they were deployed and they had to stay on a Marine base and they got combat pay because they stayed in Marine quarters. They got extra money for the substandard living conditions.
Are you
Yes,
serious?
is that hilarious or what?
I got to stay at an Air Force thing once, and oh my God, their food is better. Their everything is better.
Well, I say the Air Force is the smarty pants of the armed forces. You know, you're working on aircraft, and there's a little more complex stuff. But the Marine Corps does have their own air wing too. But yeah, I got a lot of stories about Marines. All right, so you backpedaled. You were married quickly, and that went away. Did you stay friends with him or no?
No, life just got to life in.
Yep.
And he got out right after. So he went back to Texas, and I went back to Illinois, and I was having back surgeries after back surgeries after my injury. Nobody expected it to go so left. And he was just like, I mean, I appreciate his honesty and not dragging it out. He was like, I just don't want to do this. Like this in and out of the hospital all the time. Like I want to go back to Texas. And I knew I needed to have surgery. So I was like, I need support of my mom. You know, like I need my family. And so that was kind of the reason we decided to end it, because neither one of us was going to compromise. I didn't want to go to Texas and have surgery and put it on his family. I thought that was unfair.
So now you're with guy number 2, the Marine.
Yes.
And is that moving quickly?
Yeah, it moves quickly. He was an awesome support and helped me with military related things that, you know, like, yes, that sergeant, I forget. I really wish I could remember what like his acronym was, what he was called. But things, you know, like he would like tell me what to do. Like, these are the steps you need to do to take your ID. And then my ex would help me accomplish those things and like take me to go, because he had all done it before. So that really helped.
What
us
was
get
his
close.
injury?
He also hurt his back. He actually just had surgery last week, his first surgery. He put off surgery as long as he could. I mean, it's been years. He saw what I went through and was worried that, you know, he would have the same. Obviously, his injury was different, but he also had a back injury.
We're going to jump ahead and then come back.
Okay.
What is your percentage of disability now?
100. Well, technically 80, but I have what's called unemployability. An attorney. I had to hire an attorney who helped me get it, and so I have 100. But technically, it's 80 with 100 unemployability.
Okay, I don't know about the numbers of that, but it's better than 30 that we talked about. So
yeah.
Okay, so backing to the now ex, you didn't get married?
No, we were together 10 years.
So how did that go?
Well, we met right when I got home, and it was surgery after surgery, and we created this dynamic of, you know, him being my caretaker. And I didn't know it then, but, you know, I think he thrived in being the man who takes care of me. And, you know, he did well. But, you know, we were both injured, both on pain meds. I think a lot of people know the epidemic of that. And we were definitely the statistic.
You got addicted to him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And before we go into that, I told you the story about my mom and the heroin overdose and all that. I've never done a drug in my life. Blessed for that. Except to prescribe ones. And I've had both hips and both knees replaced. And the first replacement was a hip, and the doctor prescribed oxy and a drug called tramadol, I believe. And this is what he told me. Take the oxy every 6 hours. Don't stop. And take the tramadol in between. So every 3 hours I was taking a pill. And he warned me. He said, don't wait until you have pain to take it, because you need
ahead of it.
You got to build it up. So I followed the instructions in fear, because I had heard and read about the addictive nature of these pain medications. So I was very conscious of that. But what wound up happening to me is I got these night sweats like really bad. I would be sleeping on the couch on top of 3 beach towels. I would lose like 10 pounds of water overnight. Like, I don't know, 10 pounds is more than a gallon. And I hated it. So I weaned myself off. Now, the second hip replacement comes several years later, same doctor. Okay. And he says something different. He goes, I'm going to prescribe the 2 things, the oxy and the tramadol, but take as needed. He said, if you have extreme pain, take the oxy. If it's medium pain, take the tramadol. And if you think you can manage it with Tylenol or nothing, then take nothing. So he gave me the option then, because so much information had come out about the addictive properties of these things. So I think I took 2 tramadol, to 2 or 3 to go to sleep at night. And then, so that was no, hips are easy, by the way. Knees are difficult. Knees are very more complex. There's a lot more pain, and there's a lot more involved in a knee replacement. And dummy me, I had them both done at the same time, which the doctor said that might not be a good idea. I'm like, I'm not going through this twice. Get her done. And then I did have to take a couple of the powerful ones, but as soon as I could get off them, out of fear. So now you guys you're taking the pain meds because you're in pain, and then the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah. And now that I'm sober, I can look back on it, see it. But, when you take them, you feel good at first. And then there's like this drop. So like emotions are very up, down, and you don't realize how like unstable you're acting on them. And because they were given to me by a doctor. I mean, I would walk into the doctor, and because I had such a fat medical record, I could walk in any doctor and they'd be like, what do you want? Yeah. Or it would be, are they helping you? Do you need an increase? Well, hell yeah, I'll take an increase. And I was really digging myself a hole. And I have to say, and I have to give him credit where credit's due, he managed it better than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I say I was tricked by a doctor, but I definitely took it more extreme than he did.
No, but let's pause there. We're gonna talk about doctors, and a lot of people aren't gonna like what I'm going to say. Doctors go to medical school and they're taught what they're taught. Okay, and medicine is not all encompassing. There's orthopedic surgeons like I had. There's brain surgeons, ear, nose, and throat surgeons, general practitioners. There's a million different categories of being a doctor. Okay, but they're all basically told the same thing about pain. Here's how we manage pain. Here's how we prescribe what we prescribe, and here's what we're prescribing does. Okay, it's just like a template. They don't read any studies on side effects, after effects. They're just trying to relieve your pain, and sometimes they don't even know what they're doing. Like Oxy, for instance, there's a whole story on that in the Sackler family that when they were supposedly were putting all of this Oxy through the trials, and they were selling it as non-addictive because they were like time-released capsules, knowing very well that it was highly addictive. So the doctors are just reading material provided by, Sackler family pharmaceuticals, and it's actually the opposite of the truth. Like you could just take one thing and then you're addicted. And then they started increasing the size of the pills like 4-fold or 5-fold. And you probably know the story better than I do. So my little rant about the doctors is you are learning a lot of stuff. And to your credit, you have, your brains are powerful. You're learning a ton of shit, and you're the cream of the crop in terms of sitting in a classroom, but you're learning a lot of stuff that isn't helping people, right? You're not curing people, you're treating people. And that's what our healthcare system really is about. It's a treatment-based healthcare system, not a healing-based healthcare system. And you and I talked about the pharmacy companies, they kind of control everything.
I could not agree with you more. Now going through it and looking back on it, I wish they guided me more towards physical therapy and, But it was just, here's these pills, take these pills. These pills will make you feel better, and then just give it time. But the best thing I ever did for myself was starting yoga and strengthening myself. It took me a long time, but I thought these doctors know, these doctors know. And little did I know.
One of my mentors goes, you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So they know what they're told, but then there's a whole, when you and I talked about this before we started, facts, and I do the air quotes when I say facts. For every fact, there's a counter fact. So if you go on the internet and research vitamin C, you're going to have 1,000 articles about how vitamin C is the greatest antioxidant ever made, and 1,000 articles on the toxicity of vitamin C and that you shouldn't take it at all. Where's the truth in that? So the doctors are all taught one thing, just that thing. Unless the doctors become like researchers and true open-minded scientists that are not prone to who's funding my study and what results do the funders want my study to, like, it's very hard in this day and age for true pioneers of truth-seeking and science even to not be marred by some other outside force.
They're very far and few between.
So you're utilizing the system. You got a whole spreadsheet of doctors looking at and going, yep, she needs the meds. We're going to prescribe the meds. You don't have any problem getting the meds, right? And so you're self-monitoring, and you're not monitoring, you're amping the stuff up, right?
Yeah. And you use it and it stops working. So now you need an increase. And in between all these increases, I'm having this surgery or that surgery or that surgery where, now I'm up to 8 back surgeries. Like, and then I finally went to a special doctor, or a third opinion down at UIC. And it was my wake-up call. He was like, at this rate, you are going to be fused all the way up your spine by the time you're 30.
And what does that mean? Like, you literally don't have any mobility in your spine, right?
He's like, if you keep going at this rate. And the way he just explained it to me clicked. When you fuse, now the top and the bottom of that is working 10 times harder. Of course, I'm going to wear it down. It's doing twice the work. For some reason, the way he explained it to me, it just finally clicked. And so after I was at 8 back surgeries at that point, and he was like, you're at the max. Like, you are at the max of what they give a grown 300-pound man. Like, how are you not laid out on the floor completely functioning? Like, he was like, it is a scary dose of meds that you are on. And he's like, I could see why they're giving it to you. Like, you might really want to see where your life's going. And so I'm really grateful for that doctor. He was the beginning of the end, kind of.
He got you thinking, didn't he?
He got me thinking. I mean, it got worse after that. I mean, this was 10 years of like trying to get normal or back to what
and
I
you have
thought.
2 kids in this 10-year period too, right? Yeah. So just what you needed on top of everything else. Yeah. Good Lord. Yeah. Crazy. So how was childbearing with the bad back? I mean, was it a C-sections or?
Yeah.
They would have had to be, right?
They had to be. Yeah. They were like, if you even attempt to push, you will just snap your spine. They wouldn't even allow me to try because I really wanted to. So I'm like, I want to be.
Of course, the Black Knight. I'll push them out, Doc. Don't worry about the back.
Yeah. And they were like, no. With my daughter, they actually put me to sleep because trying to numb me up for the C-section with my son was such a challenge because my spine isn't normal.
Did they try to do an epidural? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
That's like, that's like going into Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the pregnancies had to be no pleasure either because you have the babies pushing on the spine too,
they were
right?
hell. I was always told I couldn't have kids. So it was a huge surprise. And then I was told by 3 different doctors that, the chances of me having children because of whatever was going on, that was very unlikely. So when I got pregnant with my son, they were like, you probably won't carry to full term. And he's my miracle baby. And so then I was like, pregnancy was hell. My back was hell. It was terrible. A terrible time to get pregnant. I'm so grateful for my son. And then I was like, well, like I got lucky with one. It'll never happen again. And then I was surprised with my daughter too.
This is completely off the subject, but I saw a podcast where they go, what do you think's worse pain? A man getting kicked in the nuts or a woman giving birth? And the man just looked at it, he goes, getting kicked in the nuts. And she's like, how could you say that? He goes, because once you get kicked in the nuts, you never, ever want to get kicked in the nuts again. You guys have a baby, then you want to have another baby.
It's a good one. That's a good one. I like that.
You have 2 kids. You and your man are popping pills a lot. Is there a point where everything crescendos where, because you said you've been clean and you told me you've been for 5 years, usually that means there's a rock bottom involved. Did you have one of those?
My popping pills was getting out of control, and he was managing them all while trying to manage his own, right?
Mm.
And I had a doctor who was like, you're on a lot. Why don't you try Suboxone? Just give it a try. And
Was that something new on the market or, okay.
it was, now the epidemic's blowing up. Everybody knows these are addictive. Everyone's addicted, right? And so they were cracking down at the VA. Like, you had to write a whole statement why this person needs pain meds, right? So like they were cracking down on these doctors to not give them to veterans anymore. Like, my doctor who was giving me all my meds was like, you should probably find a doctor outside the VA. Like, they are cracking down on us. And he still led me to believe that I needed them. Like he was like, we're cracking down. You need them. I would find a doctor outside the VA to give them to you. I found a doctor outside the VA, and his first thing was, try these Suboxone. And he like convinced me. He's like, try them.
Well, now, was this a new thing, a new type of drug?
He was like, try them for a month. If you don't like them, then I'll give you your meds. Unknown to me, once you have Suboxone on your record, they were giving it to addicts, right? Like, Suboxone was being given to addicts.
What was the logic behind that? That it wasn't addictive, or to help them get unaddicted?
In my opinion, it's the government's heroin.
Okay.
It was the Band-Aid fix to all these people who were getting all these meds. So, but during that time, Suboxone was new, and it was an addict's drug, right? Like, you were getting Suboxone because you're an addict. And so the doctor had me try Suboxone and convinced me that if I gave it a try, then afterwards, if I didn't like it, he would put me back on my laundry list of pain meds. And so I tried it. And once I had Suboxone on my record, they were like, we can't give you this laundry list of meds anymore. And met the wrong guy in the doctor's office screaming at the doctor. He was like, hey, why don't you try this? This helps with pain. And became a heroin addict.
Everything we do in life gets us to where we're at now. And we talked about that already. So if you don't meet that guy and get addicted to heroin, you could be in the same situation right now. You could have never gotten clean.
I get emotional saying it out loud because here I am on a podcast saying it out loud, right? And I was ashamed of it for a long time, but I'm finally saying it out loud because I like the person I am. I have gratitude I've never had. I have appreciation. I laugh. Like, I don't ever remember laughing like this ever in my life. I was very hot, cold, yes, no gray area. Once I decided to cut off a person, and I think hitting rock bottom led me to be this person, and I'm not embarrassed of it. It's just hard to say out loud.
Yeah.
Because,
I don't blame you.
But I like the person I am, and I don't think had I not hit rock bottom that I would be this person, and I like this person.
Awesome.
So.
I do too.
Thanks.
So tell me about the kids. They're doing good?
Yeah, they're amazing. My daughter's 7. She's a spitfire. I'm a little scared.
Gee, where
of
did
her.
she get that from? I don't know.
That's what her father says. I'm like, oh, she's a lot. And he'll be like, you don't know. You don't get it. And my son is just so intelligent, very smart. I just have 2. I know I'm biased, right? They're my kids, but I have some amazing kids.
That's awesome. So that's another, your story, you're off-roading the whole time, right? You're rock climbing and flipping and doing all the stuff. It's not a smooth road, but you got here, and everything happens for a reason, don't you think?
I do. It took many years of sympathy. When I first got injured and came home, I was feeling bad for myself, but I couldn't feel bad for myself, right? Because I came home and I had all my limbs. And so even though I was going through all this, I felt like I couldn't outwardly go through all of it because in my head, I was still one of the lucky ones. So who am I to complain? And so I think not saying it out loud and not talking about it, I became this ball of miserable anger without realizing it because I felt like I didn't have the right to complain and be miserable.
I think there's a positive component to that, though, too. And I've told the story a bunch of times. You're looking at a guy since the 90s. I've never said or even thought I'm having a bad day because, like you were giving yourself a perspective check. You're like, I don't have any limbs blown off, right? You got a back problem. And you've probably seen people with their limbs blown off. So in the 90s, I went on a fishing trip with some Florida friends, and they brought their dads. One of the dads was a Marine in World War II. He had 3 amphibious landings. The last one was Iwo Jima, which was brutal. A lot of people don't even know Iwo Jima was arguably worse than the Normandy landing. And I think 28,000 Marines died in 2 weeks. So when he was in the landing craft storming to the beach, 2 of them got blown up by Japanese artillery. A lot of those were his buddies. So he watched them vaporize. He got to the beach. The door opened under heavy fire. He ran out, and the first thing he saw was a Marine with his legs blown off, bobbing in the water, looking at him for help. And he said, I didn't have time to help him. He didn't know it. He was already dead. And everything went downhill from there. This is an 80-year-old man telling me about a day in the life of him as a 19-year-old. And when I told his son, my friend, his son, that, man, your dad shared this story with me. And he said, my dad used to come to all my basketball games. He tried to, and he missed one. And when he got home, he said, son, how'd you play? And I said, Dad, I had a bad day. He goes, here's what my Marine father said. He said, son, your basketball team's about the size of a Marine squad. And he said, imagine if at the end of the game, you not only lost the game, but other than you and one other guy, everybody was blown apart dead on the floor. He goes, that's a bad day. You'll never know what a bad day is. And when my friend told me the story about what his dad said, I got the chills, and I said, that's a bad day. I am never going to disgrace him by saying I'm having a bad day because of the bullshit I'm going through on a day-to-day basis. So like you said, you were thinking about, I don't have my limbs blown off or whatever. I got this. I think about that every day. So I don't never have a bad day.
It puts things in perspective.
And that perspective is what gives you the gratitude, right? Yeah. You told me you're really immersed in gratitude now, which to me that's the very beginning of living your best life, is to cultivate that. What are you grateful for? And I'm a master at it. So I tell people, if you're in a dark spot, I'll start to read volumes of the gratitude book on your behalf. I'll tell you, you'll go, well, I'm pissed off or not happy about this. I'll find the flip side for you. Trust me, because for everything that happens to us, every negative thing, there's a positive counterpoint. I told you we have two knowns in life. We have our past and our present moment, and we can take the past and say it sucked, or we can say, hey, you got 2 beautiful children. That's badass.
That's your legacy right there.
Me before addiction would definitely not see it like that. I was definitely one of those people who like held on to the past and used the past as a crutch to blame everything in the present. And so now that I've seen darker days, misery needs company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was miserable. So I had a lot of miserable people around me. And so when I started my sobriety journey and my attitude and my gratitude changed, I used to tell people, like, it is what you make it. And you got to look at it differently. And they'd be like, shut up.
That's true, though.
But it's so true. It's your perspective. A lot of the old life had to go away because I'm not that person anymore.
How did the process of recovery start? I mean, did you go to groups? What were some of the things that you can say what could possibly help others now? Well, what did you do? Like, was it you had a paradigm shift in your head, which, like, did you do it all on your own or did you go to any type of help groups?
I did some like online AA groups.
Mm-hmm.
I went to detox, and then the Marine I spoke about that really made me work out and get my shit together and was just a great leader for all of us.
That was the corporal, right?
Yeah. His wife happened to call me the day I got out of detox. And I broke down and I told her everything that I'd been going on and how I'd been fucking up, and I'm going to lose my kids, and I'm going to, she drove all through the night on her birthday, picked me and my kids up and took us
4 hours,
Michigan.
you told me, right?
Yep. She drove 4 hours, picked us up at midnight and then drove straight back. She was like, I need to get you out of here. Because if I don't get you out of here, and she was right. Because I would have midnight one, I would have figured it out because that's what addicts do. And she took us to Michigan, and we were in Michigan for like 2 months. My kids had to farm and help with baby cows, and my son hated it. And they showed me I couldn't do it alone. I had pushed everybody so far away from me that I needed community. So even when you think you don't have people at your lowest, I promise you there's somebody. If you let them, they'll be there. You need somebody. And that they were my somebodies. And just knowing I had them kept me going straight.
I had a few questions I wanted to ask you before. This is my own question I asked myself, and you can weigh in on this. The quality of VA doctors, I question, because if you're a gifted doctor, this is my medium-sized brain using my medium-sized logic, you're not going to be a VA doctor. You're going to be in the capitalist system making more money, right? So are the VA doctors overall, are they lesser quality doctor? And I'm an advocate for veterans, and I don't want anyone to think I'm not. I wonder about, because we're in a capitalistic society, do the good doctors wind up going into private, and the VA doctors, they couldn't cut it that way. And I say the same thing about teachers, right? So the teachers at small Christian schools, which my kid went to, this was my argument with my wife. The truly gifted teachers, they're not going to be taking a job for less money. They're going to go to the big schools, big public schools, big private schools, and they're going to make a shit ton of money. And she's like, no, it's their calling. It isn't about money for them. It's about being teachers in a Christian education. And is that the same thing with the doctors? Like their calling is to be a doctor for VA. So these are my ponderances. You don't even have to weigh in. I'm just telling you.
There is, I think your wife's right, but I also think you're right. I have met a few doctors who I believe truly cared. But a lot of them spent 2 minutes with me. And we're like, well, so-and-so said you needed surgery. So until you're ready to have surgery again, here's your meds. What can I do for you? And then I've had a few like, you're a little young to be on all these meds, and maybe we should take a second look. Maybe we should revisit physical therapy. And you got to be doing other things than just relying on pain meds. And I think those are the good ones. And they're very far and few between. I know now it's different because we're well aware of the epidemic, right? And so, like, I was seeing all these doctors right in the middle of it where that was the solution. I think meds are still the solution. I was very fortunate and I wasn't seen very often at the VA. So I don't have much experience when it comes to it, but the few I did, I wouldn't say they were great.
But you know what? The same thing, to argue with myself, the same thing can apply to anything. You're going to have good and bad.
Right.
Everything. All right, Cassie, I'm going to piss a lot of people off with this too.
All right.
Because I think about a lot of things. Women in combat roles, I think it's a bad idea. And I'll tell you why. There's women who are very physical and they can be every bit as big of a killer as a man. But it's in our makeup. Like men are, we have wiring to be the protector in a male-female relationship. And I think that can make things happen on the battlefield that shouldn't happen. Being overly protective, if there's one female or two females in the squad, that protective instinct of a man over, to protect a woman, I don't think that runs in good parallel with being in combat. It's got to be all about the mission. So if it were up to me, I would say women can be in the military, but as a man, I don't want women on the battlefield just for chivalry. And, it's our job to protect like that. What do you think about that?
I don't think it has anything to do with a woman not being capable, but I have seen it firsthand that it does become a distraction. And I always said if we were to come up with platoons of just all women, we might kill each other, but we'd also kick some ass too. Yeah, people get mad at me when I say we don't belong. Our bodies are just made different. We're already a small percentage and so many get medically discharged because of hip injuries and our bodies just aren't made for it. It doesn't have anything to do with not being capable. Mm-hmm. We are more than capable and women have proved it time and time again. I just think, like you said, men have that instinct to protect us. I've witnessed it. I've seen it. I was medevaced with a guy who was SWAT, and him and I were having this conversation, and he told me a story how they went in, they only had one female on their team. She got hit, and instead of the two guys doing what they were supposed to do, they ran to her aid, and all three died. Mm. And so I always remember that story when I'm asked this question, and I just know that, men have that natural instinct to want to protect, and it could lead to some.
Yeah. So we're kind of in alignment there.
Yeah.
And then I meant to ask you this question and I forgot. What about, was there a time when you were deployed and you were getting a lay of the land? Like, what are we doing here? Is our government actually putting us on a righteous mission? Or, because that happens a lot, in particular with like Vietnam. Like all the Vietnam veterans I've ever talked to, they know pretty much the mission was bullshit.
I mean, when I got pulled to do that special assignment, and I got to do it twice, right? So like I was put on the front lines with the grunt units and we got to go on some patrols and it was cool. But like I was saying earlier, imagine coming home from work every day and the military has stopped the one way into your town and you just want to go to work and come home. And so it felt really shitty. We had our regulars and some of them just accepted it because what are they going to do? And others would get worked up and be like, are y'all leaving anytime soon? Like I came home from work. I just want to go home. And so, yeah, there was times I felt like a real asshole.
Yeah, I think that's just part of the whole thing. War sucks no matter what. I think the last war we had where everybody was on board was World War II. That's one way to bring people together is when you have identified like a common enemy of all people, then, that shows America's might and superpower as the American people go. But I've done a lot of writing and research on all the wars afterwards. And they say all wars are bankers' wars, and I believe that. All right, my friend. Well, we covered a crap load of ground here. I don't have any other questions for you. Do you have anything else that you want to throw out there before we finish? And while you're thinking about it, I'm going to ask the question I ask everybody here.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how happy and fulfilled are you in your life?
10.
Fucking awesome.
Because I know what it is to hit down low. And I will never be that low again. And even though days are hard and life is rough and there's some really shitty things going on, if I'm not grateful for it, it is what I make it.
That's badass.
So
I love it.
I try and live it and appreciate it because I can walk outside and it be over. So I want to go out with a smile.
Yeah. That's so funny you said that. My wife and I used to argue about I wanted to be cremated, and she's like, no, you got to have a wake and for closure. I'm like, these are my wishes, not yours, right? So we went to a wake, all of us, my boys and myself. It was for the father of one of our dear friends. He lived a long, good life. And so we were standing at the back of this room where the coffin and casket is, and our friends came up to us that was their father. And we were talking, and my son, Pete the Marine, he goes, Dad, this whole thing, this is like a really morbid custom that we have. I go, funny you should mention that. And now in the presence of witnesses, I want to say this to your mother. She wants me to be slabbed out like that. I want to be cremated and have a party. But if she gets her way, I want you guys to find an undertaker that can put a smile on my face and have my thumbs up in the casket, because that's how I'm going out. Just like what you said. Very few people answer that question with a 10. And mine's always a 10 for the same kind of reasons about I've already lived a good full life, now without problems. And I had a dear friend on here. She had a similar story. Hers was cocaine and alcohol. She was a badass female. She is a badass female. And went into the death spiral and different kind of coming out of it. And now she's a life coach. She's one of these, it's got her Tuesday morning, let's get right with the world. And she is a legitimate badass. And in the middle of the podcast, she told me about mastering living in the present. We have to live in the present moment, and and happiness is our choice. So I hit her with the question right there. I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how happy and fulfilled are you? And she goes, I'm about an 8. And I didn't say anything. I was just staring at her. And then her eyes started doing this. And then she goes, wait a minute. And I just burst out laughing. She goes, why are you laughing? I go, you just told me to master living in the present, but your present is an 8 because of something that hasn't happened in the future, right?
That's
hilarious. And then I asked her, I go, well, she had actually said, I asked her, well, why isn't it a 10? She's like, oh, I want to make more money. She had a whole list of things. And then that's when she did the thinking. And I went on to say, do you know what redlining is? And she's like, no. I said, in your car, you have a tachometer. When you hit the gas, the arrow goes up to the higher numbers. And if you floor it, it goes into the red line. There's a red part of that dial. That's where your motor's operating at its max capacity. That's redlining, okay? And I go, in human beings, redlining would be like you're a swimmer, and you're getting to near the end of the race, and you see that your opponent has got like one hand edge on you, and you got to dig for that red line to get right. Or you're a weightlifter and you're pushing through the rep. Like that's redlining, and most people never redline in their entire life. And that red line is where we're living, our whole soul is encompassing in that one point in time. That's where life is lived at the fullest. She goes, well, fuck, I'm redlining all the time. And I go, so your life is up? She goes, it's a 10. I go, there you go. But very few people, they say that. It's like, it's just it's perception, right?
Changing my perception changed my life. I very much lived in a mentality of why me. One thing would happen and it would ruin my whole day. And I see it in family members around me now. Or like my mom gets really upset and be like, oh my God, the old you used to. And I'd be like, yeah, the old me was also a drug addict. So,
Right.
But like misery needs company. And it's all about perception. And I feel really sad for those around me who like don't find gratitude for, I have a tradition in my home. My kids, when I first left, they were a reflection of my ex and I. We were in competition. Who was more miserable? And so my kids were a reflection of that, bad attitudes, ungrateful. And so in my house, we started doing find 3 things you're grateful for. Find 3 things that make you happy. Find 3 things that were a surprise. If you can't find 3 things in your day that make you happy, you need to do some self-reflecting. There is too much in the world and going on, even when you've had the worst day. There's got to be 3. I always use this example. If you're driving to work and you get a flat tire, right? And now your whole week's ruined because you've got a flat tire, and everybody's got to know about it. Because I know a person like that, people like that.
We all do.
And so like now everybody's got to hear about it. Of course it's your luck, and of course it's your bad day, and if everything happens to you and you got this flat tire, what about the 1,000 times you got to work and didn't get a flat tire?
Mm-hmm.
And so I always try and find those moments. Well, and I always tell those people who are like that, like, well, what about the 1,000 times you didn't? It's perspective.
Yep. And you choose that.
Yes.
People don't think so, but I study neuroscience a lot and I write about it. When you first have a thought, your synapses and neurons, they communicate with each other and they create a neural pathway. And if you keep repeating the same thought process, you build an entire neural network. They're folders that your thoughts will defer to. So if you're a negative person and you always default to the negative, you build those neural networks, then the flat tire becomes, it ruined my week, right? You've practiced yourself enough to have this neural network, and now your brain, you have wired your brain. And you can undo that, but it takes as much time to undo it as it did to do it. You see what I'm saying? So you made the choice to look at things with gratitude. What are my surprises during the day? Like me with the flat tire, I'm like, at least I wasn't in an accident.
Yeah,
and if I was in an accident, I'm like, yeah, at least I didn't get killed. And if I got a broken arm in the accident, I go, hey, at least I didn't get killed. It's like I have 3 boys. Boys get into a lot of car fender benders, okay? My boys have gotten in tons of fender benders, and I always tell them the same thing. This is just stuff, okay? Stuff's going to come and go. But you're safe, and that's all that counts.
It took me over 30 years to realize that I used to call myself a realist. I was just realistic, is what I used to say. No, I was negative with a badass attitude. And they say you have to do something for 30 days. So when I first started getting sober, I started talking to myself. I'd be like, I am a good mom. I am this. And it felt so foreign. And like, he used to think I was like doing it to like, I don't know what he thought, but I was sounding crazy walking around being like, I am a good mom. It's okay. I don't get it done today. It always gets done. I was my hardest critic because I was limited. If I didn't do the dishes today, right? Like it was the end of the world. He thinks I'm a piece of shit. He thinks I'm lazy. I was my hardest critic. I was doing that to myself. And so I used to have to walk around and be like, it always gets done. It's okay that I didn't do it today. It's okay. Like I had to give myself grace. And after doing it for so long, I started to believe it. And you're right. It does always get done. It does always, whatever it is. And I am a good mom. You just have to keep doing it, even when it feels funny.
Yeah, when what you think about, you bring about is basically what it amounts to. It is that simple. This is my book, How to Be a Warrior of Light in a Dark World. It's available on Amazon. It's about mindset and many other things. It's kind of a handbook on life. I have my second book coming called The Gift of Grief. That's at the editor right now, and that will be published probably within a month or 2. So thank you all for joining the Warrior Podcast. Thank you to our sponsors. We'll see you at our next show. I have a saying because you had the why me attitude. Why me? I'm a victim. And my saying is, why me? Try me. So you went from the one to the other, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, my dear friend, I got to tell you, we had one phone conversation in the past. Our friend Vicky introduced us as a fellow human being. And I have a friend who makes fun of me because I say human and not human. It's an Italian thing. I'm proud of you. You've done good. And the struggles, they're always going to be there.
Always. You know? It's part of life.
And you're a warrior. You were born as a warrior. You had battles. You'll continue to have them, and you fight. And you're showing your kids that stuff too, which is cool. So it's been my pleasure. Thank you for serving our country. Cassie, you're a badass. And I'm so grateful life brought us together.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this podcast. Remember, there was a warrior inside us all. We'll see you at our next podcast. Thank you again.